In 2006, three childhood friends in Rockville, Maryland, did something completely insane. Ted Xenoristos, Ike Grigoropoulos, and Dimitri Moshevitis, sons of Greek immigrants who had spent their whole lives in the service industry, decided to open a restaurant. They had no money, no experience, and honestly, no business doing this. They maxed out every credit card they had, $20,000 total, that was it. And here is where it gets wild. They did the plumbing themselves, the electrical work themselves, built the tables by hand, and smashed tiles for the floors. Ted later said they almost died many times because they had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Imagine three guys with zero construction experience wiring electricity. It is a miracle the place did not burn down. They moved back in with their parents. They waited tables during the day at their own restaurant just to keep the lights on. At one point, they were so desperate for cash that they sold a Jeep they had won in a church raffle. A church raffle. And when the 2008 financial crisis hit, the bank withdrew their loan. They just pulled it. But Cava Mezze survived. People loved it. The food was authentic Mediterranean, recipes from their childhoods, the kind of meals their Greek immigrant parents made every Sunday. Slow-roasted lamb, lemony potatoes, bowls of tzatziki. And customers kept asking them the same question: "Can I buy your hummus in bulk?" By 2008, they started selling dips at grocery stores. By 2009, they brought in Brett Schulman, a Wall Street guy who was tired of making money without meaning. And in January 2011, they opened the first Cava Grill in Bethesda. Not a sit-down restaurant, a fast casual, walk-the-line concept. Like Chipotle, but Mediterranean. Their original plan was 2, maybe 3 locations. Just Greek street food. They had no idea what was coming. For the next few years, Cava grew quietly. By 2015, 8 stores. They raised $16 million and expanded west, a coastal smile strategy, following people to the suburbs. But then someone noticed them. Ron Shaich. He founded Panera Bread. He generated 25% annualized returns for 20 years. It was the best performing restaurant stock in the industry. In 2017, he sold Panera for $7.5 billion. Shaich basically invented the fast casual segment. In 2018, he started Act 3 Holdings with $250 million of his own money to find the next big thing. He had been mentoring Brett Schulman for years. In spring 2018, at a restaurant conference, they had a conversation that changed everything. Because separately, Zoe's Kitchen, a struggling Mediterranean chain, had approached Shaich for help. It had 261 locations but was DIing. Sales were down, it was losing $3.6 million per quarter. 37% of shares were shorted, with investors betting the company would fail. Shaich saw an opportunity. He said, "We led them in acquiring a public company 5 times our size because we knew we could do a better job." On August 16, 2018, Cava, with 66 locations, bought Zoe's Kitchen for $300 million, all cash, financed by Shaich. The promise was that the Zoe's Kitchen brand would remain intact for the foreseeable future. Industry analysts loved it. One said Shaich understands fast casual better than nearly anyone. On November 21st, the deal closed. Kevin Miles, Zoe's CEO, who had built it from 21 to 268 locations, was out on day one. The minnow had swallowed the whale. Behind the scenes, everything was on fire. Schulman admitted they were the minnows swallowing the whale, and that it was very painful. He said he had black hair before they acquired Zoe's, and now it was gray. Cava was scrappy and energetic. Zoe's was struggling, with recent layoffs, awful morale, and mounting losses. The deep despondency from Zoe's weighed on Cava like an anchor. Through June 2019, Zoe's was rapidly deteriorating. Schulman managed 10,000 employees, embedding Cava's philosophy into a burned-out workforce. It was overwhelming. In mid-2019, executives locked themselves in for 6 hours, whiteboarded everything, and created 5 strategic pillars. Even that was too much. Schulman focused on the top 2 and delegated the rest. By August, revenue improved. In January 2020, Zoe's posted its first positive sales since 2017. The turnaround was working. But remember that promise that Zoe's brand would remain intact? In 2020, 7 Zoe's were converted. Plans called for 50 more in 2021. Store count dropped from 327 to 288, a 12% decrease. Many locations just closed permanently. In Atlanta, 4 shut down and 0 were converted. The stated justification was that conversions took 5 weeks versus 14 weeks for new builds and cost half as much. The translation was blunt. They bought Zoe's for leases, not for the brand. In 2021, 60 new Cavas opened. 55 of them were conversions. The pandemic accelerated a suburban shift. The Zoe's brand was dying. Cava held the knife. Against all odds, the bet paid off. In April 2021, Cava raised $190 million, led by T. Rowe Price. The valuation reached $1.3 billion, giving Cava unicorn status. The money went to Zoe's conversions and digital infrastructure. By 2021, 133 locations. The growth machine was humming. In May 2023, it was the end game for Zoe's. Every single Zoe's kitchen was either closed or replaced. All of them. Even the original Homewood, Alabama location founded in 1995 by Marcus and Zoe Casimus, was converted. The brand intact for the foreseeable future lasted less than 5 years. Intact. But Wall Street did not care. On June 14, 2023, Cava priced its initial public offering at $22, above the expected range. It sold 14.4 million shares, raised $318 million, and was valued at $2.45 billion. Valued. The next day, chaos. The stock opened at $42 and it soared 117% above the offering price. It closed at $43.78, up 99% in one day. Market capitalization reached $4.88 billion. It was the top-performing initial public offering of 2023 among companies that raised over $500 million. Chaos. 3 Greek friends who had maxed credit cards to raise $20,000 were now running a nearly $5 billion company. Nearly. Some investors called it overvalued. Sweetgreen, a similar chain that went public in 2021, was now trading below its offering price. Schulman brushed it off. He said, "I'm not focused on daily stock price. We're focused on defining the Mediterranean category." 300 locations. Plans for 1,000 locations by 2032. Unit volumes 2.9 million, approaching Chipotle's 3.1 million. Same-store sales growth, 14%. And if you enjoyed this so far, hit subscribe. We're getting to the wild part. On November 2024, the stock hit an all-time high, $172.43 per share. Market cap, $15.8 billion. That was a 531% gain from the IPO. Schulman and Scheich were paper billionaires. An immigrant dream realized. Or was it? 2024 looked great. 58 new restaurants opened. Revenue was $954 million, up 33%. Same-store sales grew 13.4%. Margins were 25%, but there was a warning sign. 2024 restaurants were showing a honeymoon effect, strong in year 1 and negative in year 2. That had never happened before. Cannibalization, or worse, saturation. In December 2024, insiders started selling. On December 5th, Schulman sold 276,000 shares for $49 million at $150 per share. 4 days later, Scheich sold over 3 million shares. Here is what gets me. In the past 6 months, there were 50 insider trades. 50. All of them sales. 0 purchases. Not one executive bought more. The stock dropped 20% in December. Investors were spooked. In the second quarter of 2025, revenue was $278 million. Same-store sales were 2.1%, while Wall Street expected 6.1%. Traffic was flat, not growing. On August 13th, Cava cut guidance, lowering its projected growth from 6 to 8% to 4 to 6%. The stock fell 20% and was down 40% year to date. In the third quarter, same-store sales were 1.9% versus expectations of 2.8%. Traffic was flat again, the second straight quarter with 0 growth. Net income fell to $14.7 million, down from $18 million. In November, guidance was cut again to 3 to 4%. Schulman blamed younger consumers aged 25 to 35. He said they did not have the steam they had last year, citing housing costs, healthcare, and student loans. The stock dropped 10% and was down 54% year to date. I have been to Cava multiple times. The food is genuinely good. Fresh, solid flavors, and decent portions. But spending $13 on a bowl, is it worth it? Or do you cook at home? In February 2026, the stock traded at $54 a share, down 65% from a $172 peak. Schulman and Scheich sold millions of dollars worth of shares at the top. Shareholders were crushed. So where does Cava go from here? Today, 415 restaurants in 28 states. Revenue, $1.13 billion. Stock, $54, down 65% from peak. Market cap, $6 to $7 billion. And still not consistently profitable. Bull case, revenue growing 20% from new units. Restaurant margins strong, 24 to 26%. Unit volumes 2.9 million, approaching Chipotle's 3.1 million. Gaining market share while the industry bleeds. Mediterranean has room. One analyst says 2,000 locations possible. Bear case, same-store sales collapsing 13.4% to 1.9%. Traffic flat for 2 straight quarters. The 2024 class showing a honeymoon effect, year 2 negative. Valuation, 100 times earnings. Slop bowl fatigue might be real. Core demographic, 25 to 35, is broke. Insiders sold millions at peak. Schulman sold $87.2 million since 2021. Biggest sale, $49 million in December 2024, right at the top. He still owns 800,000 shares, worth $45 million. Scheich sold millions and still owns 3 million shares. Either taking profits or knew the slowdown was coming. You decide. Zoe's legacy, $300 million for 261 locations. 145 converted. 116 closed permanently. Original Homewood location, founded 1995, was converted. Promised to keep the brand intact. Broken. Zoe's does not exist. Analysts scattered. Targets range from $52 to $142. Consensus, $82.55. 50% upside. Massive range. Nobody knows. Real question, can they hit 1,000 locations profitably, or is cannibalization the limit at 400 to 500? Is Mediterranean the next big category, or a mature niche? 3 friends. Maxed credit cards. $20,000. 415 locations. $15 billion peak. 65% crash. Built to last, or built to sell? If this got you thinking, subscribe. We dive deep every week. Maryland suburbs to Wall Street and back. Immigrant dream meets reality. The answer? The next few years. But one thing is certain. The Mediterranean bowl revolution is not what it was.